Hello, and welcome to the first of my post-World Cup discussion vids. In this video, I want to talk about. I'm going to keep it within 10 minutes, hopefully. We're talking about the biggest flops slash disappointments of this World Cup. Now, my definition of a flop slash disappointment is for teams that should do better than they did and did not play well or as well as they should have, right? So if a team plays well and they don't go as far as they should, I don't consider that a flop. Even though it is a disappointment, I don't consider it a flop. I consider it unfortunate, unlucky. And that's for another video where I will be discussing two teams in that. But for this one, flops slash disappointments, I mean, so here in the vein of teams that should have gone on to do much more than what they did. So let's just jump right in. I have four countries here who I thought were the biggest flops of the tournament. And as you see here, two of them did not advance, but two of them did advance, but went out in the round of 16. So first things first, I think we can all agree. Germany, the defending champions, wow. So for the third consecutive World Cup in a row, the defending champions failed to advance past the group stage. And for the fourth time in the last 5 cycles. The reason I find it astonishing in Germany's case is because, truth be told, I never thought it would happen to Germany. Never. I really did not think it would happen. You look at Germany's record in World Cups throughout their entire history. This was Germany's worst finish in a World Cup since 1938. That was 1 year before World War II started. Since 1954, Germany had always reached at least the quarterfinals, meaning a last 8 finish in the last 16 consecutive World Cups. By far and away, a record that no other country even has come close to mimicking. So I never believed that this would happen to the quintessential World Cup team like Germany. 1954, we've always had a last 8 placement. And a group stage exit for the first time since the group stage has existed. Really, it's a huge one. It's a big flop for a country that holds itself to such a higher expectation, a country that perpetually, for the last couple of decades, churns out young talent and goes very deep in major tournaments. We're talking about a country that has reached 4 consecutive World Cup semifinals from 2002 to 2014. So this was a big shock. And for them to do so the way that they did, on the final match day when they lost against the 53rd ranked country in the world, South Korea. It's one of the biggest upsets in the history of international football, let alone the World Cup. So, massive flop here from Germany in this World Cup. Never thought it would happen to them. Never did. The next one is Spain. Spain did get to the round of 16, but they did so in unconvincing fashion, coming off of just 1 win in the group stage and 2 draws. A win in, albeit a classic match in the Group B opener against Portugal, but then very underwhelming victory over Iran, 1-0, a match that they arguably were lucky to get the full 3 points in, and then followed by a draw against Morocco, where they went behind to Morocco twice, I believe. They ended up 2-2. And then another draw in the round of 16, followed by elimination to the host nation, Russia, on penalties. Spain's World Cup has to be considered for the most part, and this is really up for debate because you can argue that because of the managerial change the day before the tournament started with Julian Lopetegui coming in, that it was a success for Spain to come out of the group stage. I would say not so fast, because the way they got to the round of 16 and all 4 of their matches, They looked predictable. They looked dry. It looked like the same unproductive tiki-taka that we saw in the 2014 World Cup. Now, that World Cup was much worse for Spain. They had a group stage exit, but Fernando Hierro, I don't think he gets the blame because he literally came in the day before the World Cup started and 2 days before Spain kicked off against Portugal. But it was not a good World Cup for Spain because of the results and because of the fact that even though they went out to a host nation, and host nations typically do well in major tournaments, Spain should beat Russia. I mean, pardon my language, but come the fuck on. They should have beaten Russia. Right? They should have beaten Russia comfortably, but they got pushed to penalties, and I watched the match, and Russia did a really good job of closing off all the space that Spain tried to make, and there's only so much that passing, pressing style of football, possession-oriented, there's only so far it will take you if you don't produce any goals. And I believe the only goal they had in that match was an own goal through Sergei Ignashevich, the Russian defender. So Spain had a really lackluster, kind of a boring World Cup, and it's kind of sad that Andres Iniesta goes out that way, but that's just how it was in the end. I think Spain had flopped. I think they flopped, and I do think that the managerial change played a role. It had to have played a role. It had to, because even if a new manager comes in, right, and he sticks to the same system put in place by the previous manager, it still has a psychological effect on your players because of the fact that you're making such an abrupt change so soon between a major tournament. So I think it did hurt Spain. I really think it did hurt Spain. I still adamantly believe that if Lopetegui had stayed, they would have gone farther. Perhaps not winning the tournament, but I think that it had nothing but a disadvantageous effect on Spain this year. That's nothing against Hierro either. The third team is Poland, who were a seeded side that crashed out in the group stages. Now, this is a flop that several people predicted would happen. I know that fellow YouTuber Dominic Rich, shout out to Dominic Rich FC. Guys, if you're not familiar with him, please check out his channel, quality content. I strongly recommend. Good friend of mine, very down-to-earth guy. We both of us predicted. Both of us predicted that Poland would not come through the group. I think we both had Colombia winning the group, and I think that we had two different second-place teams, but we both predicted Poland would not advance. And, you know, Poland, their whole preparation before the tournament, they looked suspect, a little bit of inconsistency in qualification, and this was still a little bit of a bold pick because of the fact they were a seeded team. They were in a navigable group. They were not in a group that had a superpower in there. But really, Poland got to where they are. They were a seeded team because, honestly, they gamed the system. They took advantage of the FIFA rankings, and they purposefully, and this is not a theory, this has actually been proven, they've admitted it. They scheduled their friendlies in a certain way because they knew how the points system worked when it comes to the monthly rankings, and they limited the number of friendlies that they booked so that they could achieve a higher spot. Now, I mean, from their perspective, it's genius. It makes sense. You want to optimize your full chances to get a favorable draw. At the end of the day, it's about winning, so I don't blame Poland, but I think it also puts it into perspective why they got to where they were. And a lot of us analyzers on YouTube, with all due respect, we were not buying it, right? We weren't buying it. And it turned out that our opinions on the matter were vindicated. They were confirmed in this World Cup. Honestly, Poland even did worse than I thought they would. Because I thought they were going to at least be alive on the final match day. I thought that they would finish third in Group H, but they were eliminated after the Colombia game where they were thoroughly trounced in one of the biggest, I think, spankings of the tournament. It could have been more than 3-0. It could have been 5-6-0. No joke. I think Poland only threatened the Colombian goal once or twice throughout the duration of that match. But anyway, look at me talking. I wanted it to be 10 minutes, but every time I start a video saying I want to keep this short, it goes on longer. Oh well. I'm going to stop doing that. But anyway, I'll try not to make it too long. But Poland, they did even worse. They finished bottom of Group H. Now, they went out somewhat on a high note with a victory over Japan, a match in which they did dominate. So they had that going for them at least. But I think that Poland flopped because Adam Nawalka, the manager, completely got his tactics wrong. And I said Lewandowski was going to flop, and lo and behold, Lewandowski flopped. I think he had a miserable tournament. And it's unfortunate to see. Maybe Poland will be back in Qatar 2022, and they will do better. They will advance from their group. But when the draw came out for Russia 2018, other than the host nation, Poland was pretty much the team that you wanted to get with. You wanted to get Poland in your draw, and it turned out, since they did worse than Russia, they were the worst seeded team this year. And it's really unfortunate because a lot of Polish fans that made the travel to Russia, they were devastated. But yeah, Poland was a big flop. Maybe not as big as Germany, because, like I said, some of us expected them to flop, but still a flop. Because on paper, I think quality-wise, they're better than Japan. I mean, they beat Japan. I think with a proper tactician, they're probably on Senegal's level, if not slightly better. So they should have come through this group. But if you predicted them to not advance, it's not like that's a radical prediction anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a somewhere in between kind of thing. But I considered it a flop. I do. And then finally, who are these guys? Oh yeah. Argentina. Oh God. You know what the funny thing about Argentina is, ladies and gentlemen? They did just enough to slightly do better than I thought they would, aka advancing past the group, while still proving most of my points of how much they were going to suck in the group. It's like, if I had to use a meme, you guys like memes, right? To describe Argentina, it would be Dewey from the show Malcolm in the Middle. The one where it's like, the caption says, "I expect nothing, and I'm still let down." Kind of thing. The Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. So these guys, they struggled against Iceland. I said that match would be a draw. It was a draw. So they would lose to Croatia. They lost to Croatia. And then they did just enough through an, albeit, I'll give them credit, inspirational final match against Nigeria to really crawl across the finish line on broken glass, and only to get bounced in the round of 16 against France, where, albeit, they gave an admirable effort, pushing the French close. So Argentina, are they a flop? Yeah, they're flop. They're flop because Jorge Sampaoli took with him an absolute train wreck into this tournament, right? And with this crop of players, the way they built this team around Messi, the codependency, the handicapped relationship they had with Lionel Messi, it was a disaster waiting to happen. And what you thought would have been a turnaround of events against Nigeria in the immediate aftermath of it, it turns out, unfortunately, rather comically, it was just delaying the fucking inevitable. Delaying the inevitable. They get bounced by France just a few days later, which really calls into question whether or not Nigeria should have a few blushes over not eliminating Argentina, because they were ripe for the picking. I think Nigeria only needed a draw in that match to advance because of the fact that Croatia had beaten Iceland in the other game that was taking place at the same time. So Argentina, they're still a disappointment. They're still a flop. there's still a golden generation of players in the last 5-6 years that will go down as massive underachievers. The whole AFA needs to be uprooted. Changing of the guard. Maybe some players need to go into retirement. It's just unfortunate. It's sad. I take delight in mocking these guys, but at the same time, it's sad to see because I did not want to have my worst fears confirmed by this team, but my worst fears were confirmed by this team. So they got to the round of 16 after looking like a catastrophe in their first two group games. But don't let that disguise the fact that this is a side that failed to live up to the expectations that their fans set for them, really for most of the 2000s. They're a flop. Are they still Clowns FC? Are they still Messi plus 10 homeless guys? Are they still Aquafina? Are they still they who must not be named? I would say they're just massive underachievers. I take no joy in saying that, to be honest. Even though, refer to them as Class D clowns, Class D in my clown school induction being the lowest of the low, I'll upgrade them to Class C because they did get out of the group, but they did so in unconvincing fashion, and they kind of shithoused their way in survival mode to get out of that group. I think it was also the case that Nigeria just dropped the ball and let these guys squeak by when they should have done better. But, it is what it is. So, thanks for watching my video. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe. Who are the biggest flops, disappointments? In your opinion, do you think I got it right? Do you think there's something that I missed? Is there something that you disagree with? I look forward to reading your comments. I'll see you later today one more time. God willing, have a good one. Much love and peace out.